decide. You can start. Whatever suits you.
Okay, let's just start then. People will join in, right? So, as I mentioned, Ganga, I'll just briefly speak about the program and then I'll hand it over to you. Uh, okay, so hello everyone. I'm Pranita and I welcome you all for this session where we are going to discuss, the BIG, how to write the business section or BIG centric approach for writing that section. And we have invited expert for that as well. But before moving to that, I will briefly, discuss about the BIG program. Uh, so I welcome you all for this session. As most of you are aware, SINE is a technology business incubator hosted by IIT Bombay, and it provides start to scale support to startup innovators, entrepreneurs. We are also supported for various government programs, including BIRAC BIG. SINE is an implementation partner for BIRAC BIG program. Before we start here, I would like to request all participants to put their questions in the Q&A chat box. We will address the queries towards the end of the session. You can also raise your hand. We can unmute you, so you can directly ask your question to our expert or to us. Now coming back to the BIG program. Currently, call for BIG 23rd cycle is open. The call was opened on 1st July 2023 and it will remain open till 16th August 2023 till 5:30 p.m., not midnight. So please take a note of this, that you'll have to submit your application by 16th August before 5:30 p.m. We would request all the BIG aspirants who would like to apply for BIG to submit their application by 15th August, if not possible, 1 week prior to a deadline. Now, just to speak briefly about, BIG. BIG is a grant in aid funding to support individuals and startups in the field of biotechnology. Ideas, project with proof of principle that have a clear potential to translate into commercial products and technology are supported. The scheme provides funding, mentorship, access to incubation, other supports for ideation to proof of concept. Funding grantee aid up to 50 lakh. So if you have an idea, strong rationale supporting it, and addressing an unmet need, you can apply for BIG funding to progress from ideation to proof of concept. I'll quickly introduce all of you with some of the criteria for BIG. Let me just share my screen and I'll quickly brief on some of the aspect of BIG. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I have already mentioned about the deadline. Now, SINE here is is also an implementation partner for the BIG program. We are also an incubator. So one of the mandate for the BIG program is that whoever gets selected for this funding, they have to be associated with some incubator. However, we suggest BIG applicant or the BIG grantees to select the partners or the incubators where they are aligned with their project outcome or the topic they are working, the strength of the incubator or the network of the incubator, which can be helpful going forward, because this grant is supposed to be for supposed to be for the commercialization of the technologies. So you'll have to choose your BIG partner and the incubator accordingly. SINE is also an incubator. We are a technology business incubator, and we are hosted at IIT Bombay. We support technologies which can create social impact, can create economic growth, and has a strategic value. Some of the things as an incubator which we offer is the pre-incubation, incubation accelerator at different stages of the startup. For example, if you are at the proof of concept or ideation stage, pre-incubation programs will be very suitable for you, so that you can work on your idea, refine them, and then come up with something on which you will like to work forward. Programs like grant programs like BIG and other programs, government funding programs, they also come under the umbrella of the pre-incubation. Then there are incubation and accelerator program, which can help you to support development of your product, scale up, commercialization. We do provide support in terms of infrastructure funding. I've one of the grant funding which I've already mentioned, that government funding, BIG, Biotechnology Ignition Grant. But there are other grants from DST, METI, Ministry of Powerthon, IDEX, Defense. And then there is access to the seed fund, angels, VC network, etc. We do conduct a lot of mentoring program. One of the support which we extend when you are applying for your BIG or Biotechnology Ignition Grant is that we provide end-to-end support. We help you writing your grant, reviewing your proposals. We help you engage with the mentors who can guide you on what are the aspect you will have to focus while you're writing your proposal. And of course, we have a network of investors, mentors, and the other things which are necessary while you are in the product development, scale up, and commercialization stage. You get a lot of visibility when you come in contact or when you are associated with the government as well as with the incubators through different programs. And of course, you need a lot of services which can help you on the IP, legal, finance, startup incorporation, which is one of the mandate of the BIG program. So you can apply as an individual or as a startup or LLP. However, if you are applying as an individual, you'll have to incorporate a startup within the 18 months duration of the BIG grant period. Now, quickly to tell you about what are roles of BIG partners and incubators, because you'll have to fill those sections in the proposal. So BIG partners, there are 8 BIG partners, and these are implementation partners. We are 8 partners pan-India. SINE is one of them. BIG partner, basically through which you can apply for the grant. BIG partners help you, handhold you during the application process. While the screening process is happening, if you get selected to, face-to-face presentation round, that we call this as a technical evaluation panel. Then we provide you mentor, we help you prepare your pitch, we help you how to pitch in front of the panel, how to address the queries. So that support is already provided. Post, you get, let's say if you get the grant, you are recommended for the funding. Then there is a due diligence. We as a BIG partner, we disburse the funding. And we also monitor your progress. We engage you with different mentors who can help you during this BIG 18 months period. And then based on your progress, the release happens in different tranches as per BIRAC policy. You also get access to the network of your BIG partner. In this case, in case of SINE, you will also get that, access to our networks. Now, you'll also have to select a BIG partner, and you could select SINE as your BIG partner. There is no limit of geographical location. Extreme south, extreme north, people from these areas are also apply with us. However, incubator is someone with which you'll be associated with. An incubator will provide you the access to the infrastructure network. Maybe they can help you engage you with different mentors while you are working on your product. So you have to choose your incubator wisely. Again, BIG is one of the funding which provides a financial support where you can pay rentals and everything, from the funding, so that you can be associated with any incubator. Now, as I've already mentioned, we provide end-to-end support, grant writing, mentoring. There are incubation facilities available. So you can choose us as your BIG partner or even incubator as well. So I think I have also touched upon what is the objective of this early stage biotech funding, is that it provides support from ideation to the proof of concept. Who can apply for this is that any academic people, for example, anybody who has completed their graduation, MSc, MTech, postdoc, PhDs, even faculty members, they can apply for this. Startups and LLP whose age is not more than 5 years from the date of call launch, they can apply for this call. Some of the themes under which you can apply are medtech, agritech, industrial biotech, clean energy, sanitation. Then in medtech, devices, diagnostic, those are themes under which you can apply. AI, ML, and IoT software solutions are also supported under this, provided it has some, it is also attached with some bio component, or it has an application in the bio-related areas. Some impact which BIG has created in past, in 10 years, in a decade, is more than 200 IPs have been filed, 50 new products have been, you know, developed. More than 800 employment has been generated, and 330 innovators have been supported through this uh, particular program. 125 plus new startup has been incorporated through this funding. As I've already mentioned, you can apply as an individual company. There are certain documents which needs to be supplemented along with the application, such as passport. If you are working at any if you are right now in the academia, NOC from your academia. If you are working, if you are in employment, then you should provide undertaking that if you get a grant, you'll have to you'll be resigning from your current current job, or probably you will be taking a sabbatical kind of a thing. You If you are a faculty member, or if you are clinicians, you need not to resign. You can continue with your daily responsibilities. However, you'll have to hire a appropriate team to conduct this, or to carry out this research or develop a product. You have to have a LOI from incubator, so you can contact SINE to get the LOI, letter of intent, if you're not already incubated somewhere. If you are already incubated anywhere, you can submit the agreement of that incubation. And if you're a private limited company, there are different company related documents like MOA, AOA, shareholding patent. All those are mandatory. 51% shareholding should be with the Indian citizens if there are any NRIs involved. A private limited company and LLPs are allowed. Proprietorships are not allowed to apply for this. One of the important point is that whoever is PI or applying should have a stakes or share, should hold some shares in the company. So sometimes employees of some companies apply and they do not hold shares. So in that case, the application becomes ineligible. So whoever is applying should hold some shares in the company. Quickly to tell you about, I think I have 2 more minutes. So quickly to wrap up on the evaluation process for BIG, that there are initial 2 checks, eligibility and the preliminary screening, which happens at the BIG partner level. So eligibility check, where you will go through all your documents which we have submitted. If anything is missing, we sometime come back to the applicant, but it'll be good if you can submit all your documents along with your application. Let's say if you do not have passport, please do start applying for passport. And meanwhile, you can submit an undertaking that your passport, you have started the application, and you will submit it in a due period, let's say a 2 months or 3 months period. That undertaking can be provided. Preliminary screening is where we check if you have submitted your application under the right theme, or whether you have submitted enough information so the reviewers can review your application. Then it goes to the online review, where all the application from 8 BIG partner goes to the central pool, and all the application theme wise they get separated, and each BIG partner handles one theme. So your application doesn't remain with your BIG partner, it goes to the central pool, and then it is segregated theme wise, and the theme BIRAC decide who will handle which theme per cycle. So there is it is not really decided before you open the cycle. It BIRAC decides, and whoever is given that responsibility that handles the review of that particular theme. Everything happens online on the online platform, where 5 reviewers will review your application, and they would be domain expert, technical expert, industry expert, investors. So consortium is generally like this, 5 people. So these people may not be always the technical people. So your application should be something which anybody, people who are not really technical or could not understand cannot understand the technical jargon, they should be able to understand. So your title of the proposal, the summary of the proposal should be crisp, so that all these people would be able to evaluate. Business related aspects are also very important, because the people from industry, investors are also going to review. So we will cover that in the later section of this particular talk. Then once the online review, all 5 reviewers, they score your application. If your score is more than 60, it goes to the next level, that is TP, technical evaluation panel. But before technical evaluation panel happens, technical evaluation panel, where it is a face-to-face presentation, the committee members could be 9 to 10 in any panel. Again, the consortium remains the same, people, scientific background, academia, industry, investors, and then there are theme-wise presentation. So one theme again handled by one of the BIG partner, and then there are 8 minutes of presentation and 12 minutes of discussion. So you'll have to really summarize everything in those 8 minutes so that panel can make a decision when they are discussing with you post that 12 minutes. So BIG partner help you preparing for these meetings, how to put your presentation in front of this panel members so that you can cover all the important aspect. And then before this TEP happens, BIRAC decides the cutoff for that particular theme. And then if you fall into that cutoff range, you go to the next TP. And then similarly, when there is a when these presentation happens, then in that these all 8 or 9 review panelists, they score your proposal. If you score more than 60, again you go to the next level, that is ESC, expert selection committee. Here again the chairs and co-chairs of all the committee, they come together from the technical evaluation panel. The chairs and co-chairs of all the committees, they come together and decide the cutoff for each theme. And the final decision again taken based on the cutoff and the availability of the fund. The whole process takes around 6 months evaluation till ESC. Post that, there is a due diligence. If you get selected for funding, due diligence and agreement signing would take almost 1.5 and 2 months, because there are many other documents which you'll need to arrange. I will not go much in the detail, but these are some of the evaluation criteria at different stages of online and face-to-face. When you are making a presentation to the committee, they really look into the unmet need, what kind of a value proposition you're bringing on the table, how your technology is different than what is available in the market. Do you have a IP, intellectual property? Is it technically feasible, scalable technology? How is it in terms of commercialization, for example, techno-commercial viability and all that. Sometimes technically it is really strong project, but however it is not scalable or it is not really commercially viable, then those projects may not get selected. So all these needs to be really worked upon before you submit your application. Team is really important, and business perspective, that we will be our expert today will be covering that. So I think I will not go in much of a nitty-gritty of this. Just want to highlight one more thing here, is that this is the only grant which gives you a manpower head, under which you can you can hire your team. 30% of your whole budget can be devoted to this. So you can hire irrelevant team members who will help you to develop this project. Mentors, advisors, or who are already drawing salary from any sources will not be able to take any funds from here. People, your team members or PI can draw salary up to 50K per month. And then there are different heads as well, under which you can pay different things. For example, incubation, IP, equipment, travel. So all these heads are available. Consumable head is a flexible head. One point I would like to quickly mention here is that this is a grant, however, 5%, it's a grant in support, and 5% royalty on net sales of your product or technology needs to be given to the BIRAC. Now, this royalty needs to be paid only when you commercialize your product, and 5% every year till you return the amount which you have taken during this grant in assistance. There is no liability to pay royalty if your project is foreclosed or terminated. However, I must say that this is not a good thing which can happen for such project, because it goes on the government records. And then if there are technology transfer or licensing, payment needs to there are consideration models available with BIRAC, which as per that the royalty or the fund will be transferred. Quickly to summarize a few things is that we request you to submit your application as early as possible. Do not wait till the last day. There is a lot of traffic on the website. Please submit, collect all your preliminary data, validation, supporting documents. All that needs to be submitted along with your application. Get necessary letters, NOC, incubation, LOI, NOC in case you're a student or faculty members. Incubation LOI is important. Team with complementary skill set and advisors are really, really necessary, because that is one of the point on which people will be scoring your application. So this is something from my end. And now, if you have any queries, please do write to us on sign_big@sineitb.org. And let me just introduce our today's speaker for today's session. Since we have talked about, this business section, which is really important, because this grant is for commercialization of product, not just for a research purposes or exploratory research. So we have invited expert to address the key point on preparation for BIG proposal and how to devise the successful business strategy at early stage. We have invited Ms. Ganga, who will be speaking on business-centric perspective for BIG proposal. Just to briefly introduce Ganga is a mentor in residence at SINE and has total experience of 35 years. Her experience comes from industry academia. She was in corporate industry as SME banker, as well as academic coach, faculty member for first generation and next generation entrepreneurs at SINE, SPJMR, GDC IIT Madras, SPTBI. She has mentored more than 200 startup entrepreneurs. With this brief introduction, I welcome you, Ganga, for this session. And we request you to discuss the preparation for business model, identification of customer segments, so on and so forth for this, BIG aspirant. Over to you.
Thank you, Pranita. Thanks for the wonderful thank you for the kind introduction. I've just shared my screen. There are a couple of questions which have already started coming in, so you may want to just address it. I think it's related to the application.
Sure.
So thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ganga, part of SINE team. So today's session, people call me expert, but I think we are still learning. Whatever we have learned today is from people like you. So it's a experiential learning which is emanated back to people like you, and we again learn and unlearn. So it's a collective journey. So coming down straight to the point, I think I have about 30 minutes. I'll try to wrap it up 35 minutes. Then post that we can have Q&A. And if there are some things, Pranita, feel free to interject if there are some important points which you want to highlight. And, then we try to wrap it up with the Q&A. So I think the best way I thought we should start is today your BIG applications, people who have already started, looking at BIG, open the form and trying to see what is it look and feel, has these set of 6-7 questions. Now, this can't be better related to what Pranita just ended in the last couple of slides. The last slide talked about what are the key parameters. And before that, she also made a very important statement saying that the way you make your application should be, permit me to use the word idiot proof, in the sense somebody who doesn't understand too much of technology also, can understand. In other words, it's written in a language which even a grandmother can understand, just for the effect of it. So I can't emphasize it better. And I'm belonging to that era of not being a pure tech person, but more a business person. So happy to share my context of it. So the application today has these typical questions. It has things like, which you have to obviously answer, right? Which is, what is the idea and the problem your product solution may solve? How is it different? Then what is the impact? Then what are the critical success factors and possible barriers? Because there's always barriers to everything in this environment. And more importantly, out of these, what is a proposed outcome from a customer perspective? What is the outcome, whether you're coming out with, is your research and innovations leading to a technology licensing opportunity, or are you creating a startup? And once you've done that, what is, if you've gone into a startup mode, what is your commercialization plan? In the sense, what are your go-to-market strategies? So in the startup ecosystem lingo, when Pranita was talking of commercialization, it actually means, how are you planning to go to the market? Okay, it's like literally that is the word. So my attempt is by the end of this discussion session with not only me, but even the dialogue we'll have with Pranita, I believe you're better equipped to answer these questions for your application. Having said that, you will have to iterate a little, because finally it's a language where you have to put it together. We are happy to help you post the session also. So it's a journey. Today you're into the labs and you're looking at the marketplace. And the way you're looking at the marketplaces, you have an option of, the lab to market is either to technology transfer, licensing, and royalty arrangement, which Pranita already explained. And obviously the startup mode. And the general question is, why startup when you have, so many other opportunities? So typically a startup is, like SINE or any incubator, incubator's philosophy is to contribute to the economic, social, and strategic value. We are also and if we are contributing it to these three things, it only comes from startups. All right. So today we are talking of, supporting innovators, supporting teams who are passionate, are doing things which can actually impact these three, elements today. And we've also seen innovators also evolve as a person. So we have seen pure researchers and their mindsets, etc., research oriented, and there are people, who are different in their thinking process. But the ones who have got into a startup mode, we have seen these researchers and innovators becoming successful entrepreneurs. They are becoming business people. So recently, the Idea Forge example, where that was the first company which actually went to the market and for an IPO. They were also innovators and researchers once upon a time from the IIT campuses. Today, they are business people. They are talking of, convincing investors, convincing retailers like you and me. They have reached to that level. But it's only because of the fact that they had a very solid technology, which clearly was impacting, giving a strategic value for the country. Had a significant social impact, because it was not only taking care of defense, but also agriculture, various other factors. They were also contributing to the growth in terms of employment opportunity, which is the economic. So that is the power all of you have in your hands. So please understand, this is something like, the magic, the power you guys have, where you have the solid technology. All that you need to do is build up a business around it. And that's the journey. I think organizations like big and incubators like us are very passionately working on. Why do really startups fail? These are the probable three reasons. Okay, the first one is, can anybody guess the first one, what it means? The first one. Can somebody unmute and say what that means?
Ganga, probably they will not be able to unmute, but somebody raise the hand, I can unmute.
No problem. Okay, no problem. No problem. So fine. So the first thing, one of the first reasons why the startups fails is customers really don't care for the product. So typically what we say is, you built a technology, you built a innovation which is really going to address a big problem according to you. But finally, when you go to a customer, who is a customer? A customer is somebody who's willing to use your product or solution, or adopt your product or solution in their for their jobs. It's not just adopt your product just to sample test and say, hey, it's a great thing, but they are willing to adopt it to perform their jobs better. They are willing to adopt it to perform their tasks better. Okay, so if they are willing to do that, and they're willing to pay a price for it, right? They're willing to willing to pay you something back. It's not a free engagement, right? So that is how a successful customer engagement means. But the first image here is the customer is just not interested. Okay, so we have tons of reasons, tons of startups. That's one of the reasons contactability rate is very high. The second important thing is the money aspect, right? So these are researched subjects. Okay, these are researched findings. It's not something, and we've also experienced it, so we kind of corroborate it. So when we say money, funding is a challenge, but today what we have seen is, when we have organizations and agencies like big, etc., willing to support good ideas, good innovations where there's a need, money is not a problem. And third important thing is the team, which is what I think Radhika also very clearly explained, right? Where one of the things big sees is the team. Today, while as innovators and researchers, you can probably get through to your lab, to your innovation journey up to a point with select set of people. But believe me, once you step out of the market, you need every single soul to really help you grow. So it's not only team. When you say team, it's not just your core team members, but it is even the person who goes and delivers the product, to the consumer, or even if there's a service engineer who goes and services the issue at the customer's end. Even that makes a big difference, right? So when you're talking of team, it's across, but for the BIRAC purposes, we are talking of core team, who are the think tanks who will actually make it happen. So we've seen that these are some of the reasons startups fail, and certainly this is something which you also need to start thinking as to how you can make it happen. Now you look at a typical life cycle of a startup, like you have a life cycle of a human cell. There's a life cycle of any organism in this planet, right? So likewise, even startup has a life cycle. So typically, all of you, the life cycle starts with obviously a product development, because you are innovators, you're passionate about something. But when you get into a startup journey, there are typically 4 stages. One is the ideation prototype stage. Then we go to a MVP, which is called minimal viable product, or a customer validation stage. Then we go to an acceleration stage and growth stage. And you really don't need to worry about the last two, but certainly if you get the first two right, you're strong enough to handle the next two. That's where the journey of the innovator becomes from an innovator to an entrepreneur or businessman by the time he or she reaches the growth. Okay. So the first stage is a problem solution fit, which is where we are all talking. So what we're trying to say is that, when we are saying that you have developed a technology or you have developed a solution, what we're trying to say, ask you to think. Now, so far, it's always been inward thinking. You have an idea, you understand the subject, you're an expert, so you develop some solution, and it's really, maybe unique because you're an expert, right? Based on your experience. But we are now changing, asking you to look at it from an outward perspective, saying the solution which you have developed, is there a problem which is addressing the market? You may have perceived the problem. Okay, it's like while you're developing the innovation in the lab, I'm sure there is some problem which you have assumed it's there, and that must have inspired you to start working on it. But just because you assume, and just because you see in a few places, just because you read somewhere, does not mean it exists. So this whole journey of understanding this puzzle fit or problem solution fit becomes the most important thing at this stage, which is called the ideation stage. It's also called a pre-seed stage. Now, when we use words like seed, all of angel funding, everything is money. Okay, let's not get confused with the jargon of seed funding, non-seed, just leave it, money. Okay, so first of all, you need to get the right problem solution fit, and you need to get some money to start your journey. So what we have traditionally seen in the past, okay, maybe 20, 30 years ago, or even before the startup emerged, it's always that you make the product ready and the lab tested product, and then we actually start looking at if there's an opportunity. But today, guys, the things have changed. What we're trying to say is start developing your customer, which means look at outward facing. Start understanding where your customer is. Start understanding who is the probable person who use it. Start that right from the stage of problem solution fit. So that's why the diamond which says product development and customer development has to go hand in hand. And today's session is all about the second piece, customer segment, because you're all champions and experts in product development. I don't need to say anything about it. So as we move along, then the next stage of a life cycle which we're talking about is your pitch. So once you get your problem solution fit, you put the product together, you've got it functional, some design changes, you've started talking to customers. Customers' feedback has helped you develop that design. And you've reached a stage where you believe that, yeah, now I think it will work, and I seem to get a positive signal from the proposed customer or prospective customer that it will benefit him or her, right? So that's when the engagement of paid pilot starts, or free pilot. So today, when you're talking of, that I have the right product, so I have a good product, I have a right product, typically, it will take off well when, there is a backup to say there is a customer who has shown interest, a customer who is validated. Even if the customer is shown, has not given you the LOI, it's all right. But at least a customer has validated saying, hey, this should work, this is useful. At least that's the music to the ears to the innovators. So then we migrate from a concept called problem solution to a product market fit. But that does not mean product market fit is just about getting the solution answer. So then you move to that stage, there is a pre-seed, seed, so money start gushing in, you need more customer, you need more money to develop more product because you've got more samples in place, right? People are asking you, give me something, give me some samples I want to test. You need more money, so you move to the next stage, you get more funding. And obviously, once you get a sense of what the customer is doing, then you start creating the business, then the angel funding, investors, all of that coming. So I will not spend much time because your focus is in the first two stage. Okay. So when we talk about three important things, we said problem solution fit is the first step. Then you got to product market fit, and then you talk about business model fit. Now, all of these are important for your BIG application because the questions which I showed you the first slide are hidden in one of these steps. So I kind of have attempted to sum it up in another way. Okay, like you have certain questions, I've made it very idiot proof. I made it very simple. What they're trying to ask anybody, it's not only BIG applicant, but even your investor, your customer, your regulator, everybody will have this common question. I can challenge you for it. I could call it a Guru Mantra, Bible, Quran, whatever you call it, right? The first question is who needs the solution and why? Okay. The second one is can the startup deliver that value? And the third one is can the startup make enough money? All right. Now, after hearing Pranita, I realized even the last one has to be green because the BIG is looking at all three options. But for the discussion's sake, I think very key is the first two. What we're saying is who needs a solution and why, and can the startup deliver that value? The first one is all about the BMC, which we'll talk about, the business model. Can there some quadrants of it? Can the startup deliver that value means whether you really have the right team in place. So today, when I just spend a few seconds on this before we go to the first question. So when we say team, and I think Pranita rightfully used the word complementary skills. Generally, we as people prefer like-minded people, right? We tend to get along with people who are very similar backgrounds, thinking, interests, etc. But in the startup, it's a different story because today a startup is successful. Like the first reason a startup fails because customer doesn't want. The customer doesn't want a product does not mean the product is bad. The customer doesn't want product does not mean that there is something wrong with the product or there's something beyond. A customer may not want the product because the service was not good. You and me go through, right? When we go to Chroma to buy a fridge or AC, we have our own experiences. We like the AC, everything was suiting, but after the installation, we had a huge challenge of installation. Service engineer didn't come on time. He messed up. He goofed up the whole thing. He said he will charge $1,000 for installation. Ended up taking 2,000. All of that, all right, happens. And by the end of it, after a week, we say, "Hello, how was your experience?" You'll fume, not because the Chroma AC was bad, but you'll fume because the experience is bad, right? So that is the point we're trying to say. So can the startup deliver that value? So the value need not be only the product solution. So for that, you need a set of core people in your team who can think from different perspective. Ability to sell. We have seen a lot of innovators and researchers are very introverted. They take time to open out. Their language is, the way they're so technologically in their thought process, getting them acclimatized to the business sense takes time. So it's fine. So some of you may not be able to go back to that kind of lingo, perfectly fine. But can you get somebody with you in the team who's comfortable with that? So, and can you work with that person? Can we see having the right team is like, a marriage where, two people, take a vow to stay together for life, right? And there are ups and downs, how we move along in spite of the ups and downs together. So it's very similar to that. So that becomes essential for really getting the first answer. Can the startup deliver that team? And obviously the last point is saying, can the startup make enough money? Just how large is the market? So there's a question called societal impact. So most of these grants, most of these agencies are not just supporting e-commerce platforms and all of that. They are looking at hardcore innovations where you can save lives, you can make a difference in the society, you can make travels easy, you can take care of the environment, you can take care of infant mortality rate, you can take off. So many issues are there, right? We're all facing that day in and day out today. So that is the kind of impact we are looking at. And that is a huge market for us in India. Fortunately, the demographic and the size is helping us. So that is one of the things I think have these three questions in your mind always throughout your journey. I think you've got at least your mindset already thinking. So I'll just share a couple of experiences I went through mentoring. Some Pranita also knows some of them. So I understand that the people. So Pranita, for this, if you can help people unmute, it will be good because I just want to understand what their thinking is. Is that possible?
Sure.
Or you can just look at the chat.
I mean, if anyone from participants,
Yeah.
that is also fine. If you want to put something in the chat, or if you would like to answer, I can unmute
Sure,
yourself.
sure.
You can raise your hands.
Sure. So the context is, okay, I am giving you 4 situations. These are live cases we have experienced. I just want you to answer one question, which I'll ask at the end. The first situation, there was a startup working with us in SINE. Wonderful team, very thorough innovators. They were working on the solution for sepsis. They're clearly looking at addressing this. We all know what the issue of sepsis is, right? They were looking at giving results of the test in 2 days, which is very different from the market. They were really looking at addressing this issue in tier 2, tier 3 cities. They also had a very good understanding of the network of tertiary hospitals. They also had successful pilots. Their cost was much cheaper than the existing solution. Okay, and customer segment, like I told you, tier 2, tier 3. It's a huge market, right? And if you look at the way the market report talks about the deaths on account of sepsis, this is something which is like a life-changing intervention for people's life. So this is one solution. Very passionate innovators, like I told you. The second one I worked with is they were developing a physiotherapy equipment. Set of boys from college got into by chance into through their college project, got into this project. They thought for physiotherapy, one of the biggest challenges low morale levels. So let us add an element of gamification. So this happened about 7-8 years ago. So they thought that is a problem they would like to solve. So therefore, they developed something where they could bring in gamification and build on the morale. And they thought it's a great thing for a physiotherapist for additional revenue. They got the customer and they thought all the physiotherapists are their customers and it's a winning proposition. The third one is smart metering. This is again a set of very good innovators from down south, very humble and very modest people. They developed a smart metering, which is basically energy efficiency, which was actually obviously when you're talking about energy efficiency is reducing the cost of the energy which is consumed, and where the solar panels were located. They had successful pilot in the universities. In their universities, they saw some very good impact where they could see that savings happening, and they thought the customer segment is, if it's worked here, it should work everywhere. The last one is a very smart techie guy from one of the large BPOs. He was handling the entire employment engagement platform. So he thought he'll create a HR tech, which will help companies use this platform with the gamification, ensure employee wellness, and improve goals. So he's been there, done that in his company, and he thought that's a great idea to roll out for SMEs, etc. My question is, according to you, which of these 4 are innovations which probably could have really, got a successful commercial in the market? Any guesses out of these 4?
We request all of you to put your answers in the.
Yeah, I can put a chat saying 1, 2, 3, 4, third, whatever. Any responses? So I think somebody's raised hands also. I don't know.
I think I'll unmute. Let's then unmute.
Let's try one unmute.
Okay.
Just one. That's enough.
Yeah. Let's try this. So I'm okay. I'm not. Dashrath, can you do that? Because I think I'm not a host, so I'm not able to do it.
So yeah.
Amit Shukla. Okay. So Mr. Shukla, if you could unmute yourself. Yeah. I think Ishrat has unmuted. Ishrat, please go ahead.
Yeah. So my question was different, so I had raised my hand.
Okay.
I put it in the chat, but for
Okay.
this, I did try smart metering,
Okay.
and I had
Okay.
enough time.
Sure, sure. No problem. No problem.
So I won't vote for that. But maybe the second one I could
Robotics.
think of, because something new and fanciful, people get bored at office. So I will go for that.
Sure, sure. Great. Thanks. So I think your guess is close to right. I don't know what logic you put, but that was the right. That was the only one which took off. I'll give you the challenges with the other three and what the second one did. The first company was a right. They had the right problem solution fit. They probably also got the right product market fit. What really went there? What went against them? I can tell you is they didn't get the money, and they didn't get the money not because of the product solution fit, but there were some legacy issues with the promoters, with the founders, with some past employments. Okay, there were some legacy issues which was there, and because of that they didn't get good team members. So what happened is that's why it becomes very important as a founder, how you are as a person, what is your past track record. So as innovators you keep working on different patents, projects, etc. So when you move from one organization to another, you have to have a clean slate and move so that you can work on something else. So there was some legacy issue which came out like can of worms later on. So as a result of this, there was no, we all believed that it was a legacy issue, not a big problem. But then finally the investors backed out saying, we will not support founders if they have these kind of things. So unfortunately, they didn't get that funding. They didn't have great team members joining it. Like I told you, it was such a great solution that anybody from the pharma industry could have joined. But there was this stickiness which went against them. So because of that, the funding didn't happen and it kind of it's stalled. They have patented, probably they have given it on a technology transfer elsewhere. They moved on with it. The second one, what happened is robotics. They thought all the physiotherapists were their customers, but the fact is, and they thought gamification, morale is big challenge. But we went and spoke to the physiotherapists. They said, look, we don't have, the problem is not with gamification morale. The problem today with us is we don't have solid data to show the progress of the customer's strength or stamina levels right now. So when we go to physiotherapists, they only say, acha chal raha hai, aap kar pa rahe ho, you're able to walk. 3 days of physiotherapy, 4 days you're good, you believe you're good, right? But unfortunately, the physiotherapist knows. So there's a non-compliance is a big challenge. And today the physiotherapist is not able to bring out the non-compliance to the patients only because he or she doesn't have data to show that you still have a long way. Just because you're feeling good out of 3 days does not mean you're completely cured. Okay, that was a challenge. So these guys quickly took that feedback, went into the drawing board, made the corrections, and today they are like created a very solid platform where they're able to generate data not just about what they wanted but beyond that. So now there are physiotherapists who are working with them, onboarded with them to continuously give them information as to what kind of data they currently require. So that became the changing point. And the team is very passionate. These are 4 people who are friends in college. They continued to move on along the journey. They are funded today. There have been good days, bad days. There were people, one of them had problems in the financial side. Family wanted him to take up a job, but then others pitched in, and so on and so forth. As a team, they stood. So the investors today, while they see a very solid problem solution, as in they realize that these guys have pivoted, they're able to address, they've got physiotherapists on board, but they're so passionate about the team that today you have mentors working with them, helping them grow. And they're all of 28, 30 years, not beyond that, right? The smart metering honestly was a great expectation. We thought, the university alumni could have supported, but when they actually went to these commercial establishments and industries, and they said, can we install it? What came out as a shocker is they said, for us, energy bills are not a problem. And this was down south, certain industries. Okay. So they said that today, if I'm looking at cost cutting measures, if I'm looking at, my headache, where I have to reduce a cost, the biggest cost consumption is my raw material, my labor, which is eating away 60%, 70%. Electricity, 3%, 4%, I'm okay. So therefore, just to handle 3 to 4%, I'm not going to change my entire metering process, my structure. So I'm happy. I'm very happy that you've developed something, but at this stage, I'm not interested. You also say that, no? Thank you. We are interested. It's great, but आज के लिए हमको नहीं चाहिए. Exactly the same thing. So what does it mean? Today, a customer is willing to engage. The problem solution fit happens only when it is one of the topmost problem of the customer. We believe it is a topmost problem. So only when we engage with the customer, we realize for the customers, there is something beyond that. It is not that. Okay, the third thing is exactly similar as the smart metering. Many of the SMEs, they are very traditional businesses. They don't believe in, they do believe in employee wellness. They believe in, giving them breaks, etc. But they could never fathom the technology aspect. They never realized HR tech. What is this? सबके हाथ में मोबाइल, तो फिर मुझे मोबाइल का भी खर्चा देना पड़ेगा. How will I connect with them? They will only be playing. When will they do work? So as a result, that also didn't take off. So what I'm trying to tell you through these examples is all of this had the right problem solution fit according to the innovators, right? But actually, when you go to the market, there are various other factors which decide the success of your product or solution. And that is what BIG is asking you to look at. Any thoughts? I'll move ahead otherwise. Okay, I think I'll move ahead. Yeah.
Ganga, there is one hand
Sure.
raised. If
Yeah.
the question is pertinent to this particular section,
Please.
I think I'll unmute.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
So, Krishna Babu, Chilakuri, you can unmute yourself and go ahead with your question.
Madam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Madam, it's happened last year. I applied for the big team. My project was invention in tissue engineering, where we are curing diabetic foot ulcers in 4 weeks and at a very low cost. It is very immediately needed by even patients in America. There are globally 70 million people dying because of amputations. And we are recognized by Department of Science Technology as one of the best projects, and also selected for a poster by International Diabetic Federation Convention at Hyderabad. Having all these things, when we applied, they asked me to take at least 25 patients and submit the data.
Okay.
Also, they asked me to conduct a toxicity test on humans.
Okay.
So how much that cost will be around? It cannot come from my pocket. I put a private limited company. Again, they'll ask me a patent. Again, where I have to go for all this funding, madam? It was from big scheme they promised. So now they are asking all scale up, how you will market, how we will do this, how will that. So time is just wasted, madam. So how I could go through?
Pranita, you want to answer this? Or?
Yeah, sure. So I think this is something which we need to take offline, because there are certain things which needs to be discussed for your project, right?
Sure.
And
Yes,
probably we don't want to do it here on this platform. But I think we definitely look at this. If there are any comments which you received, we can look at it and we can respond. Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Ganga, over to you.
Yeah. So thanks. So what we're trying to tell you is there's another important aspect. So yeah. Yes, Pranita.
From mind.
Sorry.
Okay. While probably I hope I'm visible.
Yeah.
Priyanka, could you? I hope I'm.
You're audible. Yeah, Priyanka. So can I continue? Okay. I hope the audience can hear me.
Ganga, there are 2 hands raised. So now 1 hand raised. So
Okay.
should I unmute?
Yeah,
him?
you can unmute and ask him if it's related to this or a BH. No problem.
Krishna Babu,
Yeah, I think Krishna Babu
you
spoke.
can speak.
Krishna Babu spoke.
You already spoke.
Yeah.
Okay. Now Vikram Bansal, you can speak.
Can't hear.
Yeah,
Yes,
I have unmuted him.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm thankful to you.
Okay. So Priyanka, I'll continue. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. So so therefore, like we said, it's important that we go beyond innovations and technology. And like Mr. Krishna Babu was saying, is like, in spite of having all of it, why is it that it's not going? Of course, his problems are very different, but typically we find most of the innovators having saying that I have the right product, patent hai, sab kuch ready hai, pilot bhi ho gaya hai, but fir bhi, I'm not getting the customer to sign up a first letter of intent. So therefore, it's extremely important. I'm going to introduce you to a few more concepts or tools which you can note down. I'm not getting into each of it. Only I'm talking about business model. But when you're getting in the journey of commercialization, it's important you understand. There's a concept called ecosystem mapping. What does it mean? It means that if you're in a medical device or if you're in a agri-tech, whichever market, whichever product you are getting in, please let us first of all realize that there is already a market which is there. There is already an a sector which is there. There's already an ecosystem where there are already existing solutions in play. Okay, so like you was talking about diabetic solution, there are enough and many diabetic solutions which are already there. Of course, they don't directly solve a problem, but there are attempts, and it's not something that we are innovating something which is like a eureka moment. What we are doing is we are tweaking on the product, we are tweaking on the process, we are tweaking on various probably the composition, the product, the core product, but there are already enough systems and solutions which are. When we say ecosystem, please let's be clear that we have people who are as large as pharma companies, research institutes, or huge companies which are already in this business of solving these problems. They already have solid business structures. They have logistics. They have distributor networks, etc. Likewise, there are a lot of startups who are already working on this. They are mid-cap companies also. So you have to be clear and mindful कि already आज की तारीख में what are the solutions which are available, who are the manufacturers, how are they reaching the products, who are the customers and consumers, who are the doctors, how are they reaching, who is convincing, who is influencing. That clarity is something which you need to have for whatever problem or whatever innovation you're doing. Please, and this data you can get through internet, you can get through research, market research reports, you can get through annual reports of large companies. Please pick it up and study that, right? So that is one. The second aspect is business model canvas and value proposition canvas. Now, this is something I will take in the next slide. The last important thing is called a competitive advantage landscape. Today, let me tell you, friends, if a startup is successful, obviously it is because of the technology. But there can be one more. So today, what is the competitive edge? What is the differentiator? You must have heard of these concepts in the Shark Tank. You must have heard of it in the investor forums. What they say is, what is so unique in you that the others don't have, right? So the uniqueness could be that, say, listen, we are invariably in people like innovators like you, we have found that what is your biggest strength is the technology. You understand this technology, you understand the space, you have the ability to create path-breaking technologies in the market. So that could be a competitive advantage. But let's be very mindful. The large companies also can hire people like you and develop such products and solutions and roll out to the market. Okay, so you have to be very clear what is the advantage you have. Do you have an advantage of network? Do you have an advantage of logistics? Do you have an advantage of location? Do you have an advantage of an academic background? Is someone saying something? Am I audible, Priyanka?
Yes, yes.
So you need,
Yes, you are.
yeah. So you need to really understand what your competitive advantage is when you are in a startup. So when I talk to you about the business model canvas, right, which is where we are all here for. So today there is a response. So when I gave you these examples as to why some of the startups didn't take off, it is important to understand there are other critical levers for a successful business. So when we talk of a journey from lab to market, what are the key levers? What are the key factors which really help you through a successful commercial stage? So if you remember the life cycle of it, What are the successful levers which will help you reach the growth stage or the accelerated stage? So there's a concept called business model canvas, okay, which has 9 quadrants. The colors of the quadrants are such way it helps you understand, they're all under different buckets. So the one on the blue, which you see the 4 quadrants, this is completely outward to a company. What it, if you have these quadrants in place, which is more outward facing, at least your market positioning is in place. The left of the quadrant is in pink color or red color, whichever color you can see. This is inward to your company, which means to be successful in the market, what are the internal things which you have to put in place in the startup, which you need to be really at it. If you have this, then both your market and your inward can result in better costs and good revenues. Okay, so I will focus more on the right side of the canvas, we call it, which is blue in color. So right side of the canvas, there are 4 quadrants. Right? We have something called a value proposition. We have customer segments, we have channels and customer relation. Now, if you see on the right, the same questions of your big application you can see, right? So again, you will realize all of these quadrants can actually give you answers to those application. So the first and foremost, very critical thing, I would say the heart or the nucleus of the whole thing is your value proposition canvas. The value proposition, which is right in the middle. So when you really, for the big, if you are able to even, do the right side of the canvas pretty well, I think you have most of the answers in place. So what is the meaning of, okay, another way of summing up this business model canvas is, I've just summed up in 4 statements. So the right side says, who are our customers and how do we reach them? And the first one is, have we found the right product market fit? These 2 are the right side. The left side, which says is, what are the critical success factors so that you can get the right side? And the one below is, are we making enough money and growth of the company? So today, company agencies like big or investors are just not looking at supporting one technology or one project. They're saying, can we look at a team which is passionate about their technology or product, which can really has, as a team, they have the ability to deliver in the market. They have a very clear path of next 5 years, 10 years to make a difference. And they are not only making a difference through their technology, but also creating wealth for all the stakeholders who are involved with them, which means the startup is also profitable and growing. Okay, we are not looking at, you must have heard of unicorns burning caches. You must have heard of unicorns, not making profits. But what we are at as incubators, we really push our, incubatees is, you may not be making profits in the first 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, perfectly fine, because it's not a miracle or a magic. But as you move along, there's a statement called path to profitability. So as you move along, can you see that your company will start making profits? So what is a profit? Profit is a function of your total money you've received on sales and your cost you minus, and whatever is left is profit. So which means your right side of the canvas, your left side of the canvas, if you minus that, that is the revenue, that is a profit. So it is revenue minus cost, which is a profit. So what we're trying to tell you is, building sustainable startups which is profitable and growth oriented is what we are looking at, and that is what this BMC really looks at. So when you talk about value proposition, what does it mean? Today I gave you the example, right? We are talking of existing ecosystems are already there, right? Today we are saying smart metering is there, sepsis management issues are there. Physiotherapy equipment's already. What is it, that one thing which a customer will move? What is that one value the customer sees? So in the physiotherapy case, what happened? The physiotherapist found value because his engagement with the customer became much better. He could show data to the customer saying, look, in terms of your progress, you're at 60%, you're at 40%, you're at 80%. So somewhere the reputation of the physiotherapist improved significantly. The customer realized that even if I'm feeling good, but there is a reason. I mean, there's a data which is talking to me. So somewhere the physiotherapist also started. So the non-compliance means the customers don't show, right? The patients don't show for the physiotherapy. So then, number of seatings increased. The revenue started coming in. As I can say, originally planned 20 sessions. without this equipment, a customer, the patient would come and attend 10 sessions and say, I'm feeling better, and 10 sessions he would not attend. But today the customer is saying, till I see 100%, I will attend. So he gets all the 20 patients, 20 sessions happening. So what is the value of physiotherapist is seen? Value is not only that his output, his job is better, but he's getting that reputation, and then obviously seeing better costs, or he's seeing revenues. So what we're trying to say is all your solutions, okay, whoever your customer is, all your solutions, all your technologies has to bring in that value, okay, has to make that difference. Otherwise, they're very happy with whatever they're doing. Okay, why should a client choose your company? Why should a client look at your option? So that is the value proposition we talk about. The second most important thing is customer segment. So today we have seen that every, there are statements which say this problem takes care of, all types of customers. A diabetes solution takes care of all diabetic patients. We have heard statements like this, but, if you look at, if you go a little deeper, you will realize when you talk of diabetic patients, so let's take the physiotherapy example. When you talk of physiotherapists, there are different types of physiotherapists, right? You have physiotherapists in large hospitals, small hospitals, medium hospitals. You have doctor owner physiotherapists also, right? Now, the point is, are all their problems similar? Are all their needs similar? No. A doctor physiotherapist in a large hospital, while his job is to ensure there is a recovery, but his challenges are different. He gets his monthly income regularly because he's on the roads. He has his his reputation, he might be practicing, etc. Whereas a doctor owner who runs a clinic will be concerned because his livelihood comes from there. For him, every customer, patient who doesn't come back is a concern. He's happy if he's being referred. So it becomes extremely important to understand what is your customer segment. So the general tendency we have seen on innovations is it takes care of everybody, which is true. Any health related will take care of a large segment. But when you go to market, remember that statement, go to market, then you are looking at a question, who are the first 50, 100 customers? Who are your early adopters? And only those customers, only those patients, or only those doctors, or whoever is your customer who is willing to pay for your solution, all right, sees that his or her problem is the topmost which you're trying to solve, the probability of engagement with you will be very less. So the other thing is, your solution can have two things. It can either reduce a pain or give a gain, right? There is a problem which is pain. Say the pain factor in the sepsis, where we're saying is, the reports take 6 days, 7 days, but he's reducing the pain to 2 days, because to that extent your antibiotics, etc., will not bother your body, right? So that is a pain you solve. So you should be able to articulate your solution. Is it a pain reliever or a gain giver? So a gain can be something like where, I'll take the example of automobile. So today you have cars differentiating in terms of gain, saying the mileage in this branded car. In this car, the mileage is, say, 14 kilometers, 19 kilometers per liter, right? Whereas another car, the mileage is 4 kilometers, say 10 kilometers, right? So that's a gain. So a customer who's running a 14 kilometer car, he has no problem. He's getting mileage of 14, but if he's put across, and if that is bothering, saying that my budgets are high, my petrol consumption or diesel consumption is going up, and he's concerned, he's a long distance traveler, then he will be very happy to look at something which gives him 20. So your problem solution, your solution or your technology should actually see whether you're, be very clear whether you're solving a pain problem or giving a gain. So these two aspects of the value proposition and customer segment, if you get this right, I think 60 to 70% of your application will speak for itself. All right. Now, the other important thing is, okay, now you've got your problem solution fit, you know whose problem you're solving, you know the customer segment, you know exactly. The question is, how do you reach out to them? Okay, today it's we've always seen that. What next? Okay, I will go through social media. I will go to webinars. They're all very common, cliched ways of dealing with it. You have to really understand how, if a physiotherapist who is a owner doctor physiotherapist, where all he goes, what are the different forums he attends. You need to really understand the customer persona, right? Where all does he get his inputs from? And try to understand that and reach those channels. So what are the channels in which you can reach them? And today you have channels of combinations. You have online, because you have a lot of element of hardware and software element in your solutions. So how do you reach out? I mean, some bit of website, some bit of feet on street, in, at the place of location, some bit could be online. So you have to be very clear on this. And that's when you say that I have a go-to-market, strategy ready. Most important, we thought one customer humko mila, and we are done with it. Today, the cheapest way of marketing cost is referral. We say if a customer is happy and he or she is referring to 10 others, and I think you're doing something right, and that's the cheapest way to manage your marketing. So how do you retain and grow? Okay, it is retain in the sense we are also individual customers. We get continuous updates. So when you're talking of solving a particular technology solution, depends on most of you must be dealing with B2B. Your customers are educated, learn it. I mean, they are also looking at some value addition. So how do you how do you maintain the customer relationship? So today when we say, I have a good market, all of this matters. And for that, you need to have a team who is good at this. So if you are a founder or innovator who knows the product and cannot get into this, get somebody who's good at this and, keeps on developing it for you. All right. So therefore, this is the right side of the canvas, which is really important. So I think you get this right, good amount of your, big application questions are solved. The left side obviously are the key activities. I'll not spend too much time, but what we're trying to say is to successfully develop a product. Suppose you're saying, you're able to manufacture or give the solution cost 60% cheaper than the market. So which means so much of, the effort of putting the product together, your raw material, your people involvement, your space involvement, so your consumables, all of that also would make a difference. So we have seen the product is very good, but the key component of the product is imported. And the biggest challenge with import is it is very susceptible to duty changes, right? So today, if you're positioning that my product is cheap or much cheaper because, I'm giving the best efficiency and it's cheap, but we realize one of the key components is imported. Tomorrow the duties change. What happens to your product? So your value proposition, what are the key things which are important? So which are the key activities? So in your case, more often than not, it will be the kind of manufacturing setup. It would be the logistics. It would be also the after sales service. All of this really matter, right? So what the left side of the canvas talks about what are the key critical success factors to support your right side. Key partners, like in the sepsis case, one of the biggest challenge we were discussing is, all right, if you, we are talking of tier 2, tier 3 cities. If you're able to make your solutions available in tier 3 cities, all right, the tier 2, tier 3 cities is one of the biggest challenges. They didn't have skilled people in the diagnostic centers. So even for somebody to operate the solution, they have to be skilled people, right? It might work in tier 1 cities. So then the thought process started coming. So if I'm committing 2 days time, okay, for giving the reports, and the tier 3 cities don't have the skilled people, the amount of time it will take for them to go to the nearest hospital and come back, it is actually beating my commitment of 2 days. So who are your logistic partners? You need people, you need cold storage, vehicles which can fly up and down. See, as a founder, you can't do all those businesses. Then you have to be able to look at logistics. So they are your key partners, right? So you have to really understand what is so key which is there for your business, which you commit to your customer, you need as a back-end support, solid, right? Key resources invariably for you would be the patent, it is the money, it is people, because you're all research oriented. So today, one of the biggest challenges, people come and go. See, the startups say that, in fact, you will hear a lot of sessions where people say, have an ESOP option. That is the biggest motivation for employees to retain employees. When these kind of discussions happen, so you really realize that if people is important, let me ensure how they are maintained, how they are handled, what is their onboarding process, what are their because without the people, you can't deliver your value proposition to the customer. So what are your key resources? So some of your things can be outsourced. We have seen that you, like I said, if there is a component where 20-30% is key to your, which is patented, Maybe 60% is, some hardware part which can be manufactured. No, you don't create that manufacturing. Can you outsource it? So that brings down the cost. Like I told you, we're looking at building up profitable and sustainable business, right? We want you to make money also, not only money for the stakeholders, but even you as founders, even you need to make money. So you must have heard this concept of valuations. What does it mean? If you are serving the market, if you have created the right impact, if the market is happy with your product and you're growing, you're building value, right? And that value transforms in improvement in your value of your equity holding, which means you're so much richer too. So it's not only value and wealth for yourself, but even your investors who are party to it, even your bankers, even your regulators, all of them gain along with you, your employees, right? So these are the key resources. So obviously revenue streams and cost streams obviously would be how much you will charge and how much, what are the various ways to really charge your customer. I'll not get into these, I can share these statements, but I think at the stage you are in, what we've discussed so far is, very critical. So we are talking of these 4 statements, especially the top 3 statements, which are very, very important for you to really successfully showcase the way your solutions are going to help, right? Another important thing before we leave, are there any questions? Then I can just spend a few seconds on this. Any questions? Any raise of hands, Priyanka?
Hello,
Yes, Amit.
Ganga.
Yes, Amit.
Yeah, this is Amit. So basically, I wanted to understand what does BIG mean by ideation stage?
Okay. So is Priyanka or Pranita there? Would you like to take the answer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Amit, I think there is some
There's an
echo.
echo. There's an
Okay,
Okay. No, I think you'll have to. Sorry, the echo is from our side.
Yeah.
Okay, so Amit, ideation is basically what it, really says, idea. If you just have some idea where, similar kind of ideas, it may not be completely innovative, but there could be some incremental innovation, let's say. But, something similar has been already proven and you have some incremental innovation on that. And these kind of ideas you can put forward for BIG proposal. If these are like groundbreaking, disruptive ideas, sometimes these are also given, chance for the funding. However, most of the times, committee prefers, because this is a competitive, there are many applications. Most of the time, there is some preliminary, data, supportive data, which is required to make decision by the panel. However, as I already mentioned, disruptive ideas, really innovative ideas, sometimes can also get funded.
Okay, so basically, I applied in BIG 21 call, and I was suggested by the reviewers that the idea is really good, and it would be better if the team files patent for it. And then I reapplied for BIG 22nd call, where the reviewers were satisfied with the patent application. However, in that call, they have mostly asked about the preliminary experiments. Like, for example, my product requires to go through clinical trials, in vivo testing and in vitro tests. Whereas the product which I am making is not the instrument. I have to make an instrument to make the product. So we are looking for BIG grant to make the instrument itself, and after which we can make the product for the sale. So, but the questions are mostly about the product, not about the instrument which I am asking about. So how would I take this?
So Amit, I think we'll have to discuss explicitly on this, because I would like to know what is the instrument, what is the product. I would also like to know with whom you applied, what kind of a feedback you received. We'll have to go through that before I make any comments on this, right? So, this forum, literally for this kind of a question may not help. So what you can do is that you can write to us, we can arrange a meeting, virtual meeting with you, so that we can understand in detail about your application, your past experience with previous cycles, and we'll be able to guide you. A quick comment from my end may not be able to resolve your queries on this particular front. So I really request you to write to us.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you anyways for joining, but do write to us and we will try to resolve your query.
Sure. So I'll write to you.
Yeah, thanks, Amit. I think I'll request everyone, if you have any questions related to your past experience or results from BIG, I think here on this forum we'll not be able to discuss, because there are different angles to that. We'll have to understand what you submitted, what was the response from the committee. So I'll request all of you, please write to us, and we can stick to some of the questions related to what Ganga has covered, or if you have any basic questions related to BIG process or eligibility criteria, we can discuss here. About your proposals, we can have one-on-one meetings which will organize.
Okay. So can I have last two slides and I'll go for a wrap. So thanks. Once you've understood this, I want to spend a few minutes on customer development. So the next question is, you want to ask, like, how do I go about doing it? If you say I should know what they need, I should know what they, whether they will buy the product, I should know what solutions they're already going about using, what is the ecosystem. So there is this concept of KYC, which is there all over. So for that, what really, is the best way, and this is something I can tell you, some of the successful startups, including that physiotherapy company, got successfully 50 lakhs of money through the BIG, only because they, not that they didn't do a product, they did a fantastic job on the product, but they had actually done a very detailed customer discovery process. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Okay, this is an activity which really will help all of you. And I strongly urge all of you to spend some time and try to, do this activity or this particular process, and share the findings in your application, if not in the application when you present. So what happens is, I'm just picking up two important quadrants of the business model canvas, which is your value proposition, customer segment. So what you have got some basic assumptions and understanding, saying, my assumption is my customer is the biggest pain point for my customer while he is doing his job is that, reports take more than 5 days, but this customer, his patient is dying or the patient is suffering. So if that is what is your assumption, and you are very clear what kind of customer, so what we strongly urge you to do is go and conduct customer insights, go and conduct conversations with such people. So generally, we have seen innovators and researchers, when they conduct conversations, they just go and talk about the product. They're saying, look, I've developed this solution. It might help you in your practice or in your consultation. Then obviously the doctor will not, here I'm assuming it's a medical device. So let's go with that example. So the doctor will never say no, because they have no time, or they will always say, yeah, we'll see, you get to the market, when you have the product, you come back. But what we're trying to say is, we want you to understand, we want you to really understand who your customer, what kind of a problem you're trying to solve. Is it a problem which is requiring an urgent and active need for your customer, or is it passive, saying chalega hai to bhi chalega, or is it let it, right? So it is extremely important to know that whatever solution is you're developed, which is solving a problem in the market, has to necessarily be in your active and urgent way. And how do you get to know of that? Only when you actually conduct interviews or you conduct conversations. So what we try to do is, this exercise is called a customer discovery process. So what we get these teams like you to identify some of, say example, you're looking at ENT surgeons, right? So we say that in the areas you plan to sell or you plan to segment your market, identify 20-30 ENT surgeons, just go and talk to them. And when you talk to them, don't talk about the product, but talk to them about their job, what do they do, what are the challenges, what are the highs and lows, etc. So when you converse, and in the process you realize that the problem they're facing is something which you can solve, becomes a possible customer, who could really be targeted, right? So if you get, in IIT Madras GDC, we get people to do at least 100 such interviews. And out of 100, when there's a trend and they see, and they're able to study in the 100, saying there's a trend saying this kind of a, see ENT surgeons, in Tier 1 cities who have a qualification of masters from the US have a tendency to look at these things better, or you start studying and realizing that this is the persona of the customer whom you can work with. Once you get that validation, and then you can go back to your presentation committees to say that we have done a ground check and we have got a feedback saying that this is a challenge and we believe that this is a problem we can solve. You can always go back to them after you've done this conversation and tell them, when we have a product ready, would you be able to do your pilot? They will never say no, because they know for sure you're solving their topmost problem. So what we're trying to say is, can you develop some assumptions for the value proposition and customer segment? Can you conduct some conversations with them? Can you understand, get some insights from the conversation? You rework on the assumptions, and that way what will happen, it will help you pivot. It will help you improve your product and solution, right? So this is a customer discovery, a development process. We are not talking the last two circles. We are only saying you look for your customer. Okay, what are you doing? You're looking for your customer. Customers don't come to you. You are going in search of your customer. You're talking to the customer to find out if the problem which they're facing is something which your solution can offer to them. You validate that with the assumptions you have made, and then you decide whether you want to go ahead or you want to come back to the drawing board, make the corrections to your product and go back to them. So if you do this process, you will have a clear understanding of what a customer development processes, right? So customers are typically different types, right? We have decision makers, buyers, recommenders, and influencers. It's extremely important to understand the buying process. Okay, if you're talking of diabetes as a solution, finally a patient like me will use it, but for me to use it, there is already a chain of activities which happen. Somebody decides, somebody influences, somebody recommends. It's extremely important to understand in your case, even if it is a highly scientific oriented solution which works where the work it is required in the labs. There also they are human beings, they are different roles, right? So please understand, and invariably the one who makes the payment, the one who decides, the recommender, and the one who makes the buyer are the key people you might want to spend more time and see whether this solution which you're making is really beneficial to them, right? So net, what we're trying to say is customer means you have to understand the customer persona. It is not just customer for the job they do. Okay, so understand what not to ship. Understand what you should not develop and go to the market. Understand what is required in the market and develop a minimal viable product, and then go back to the customer segment. So this is what I thought I'll spend some time on. There is a nice business thesis. If people want, they can always use this. All that we encourage our startup founders to do is, if you can, take the statement and fill up information. So the reds are the fill up the blanks. So if you can actually fill up your product information, your customer segment, your what is the problem you're solving, is it a gain or a pain? If you can articulate your solution, your customer in this segment, in this business thesis statement, I think you are there. So you can take the picture of this and you can actually fill up the red slots with your actual product or solution. So with that, I think I'll end my, I'm 2 minutes ahead of time, but I'll end my discussion here. Happy to have any questions.
Oh, thanks, Ganga. I think I'll quickly, what would I like to do is that share my screen and just share the application form here and the section which, you really spoke about, customers, talking to customer, validating, your problem statement, identifying whether it is on the priority list for them or not.
Sure.
So what I'll do is quickly, so that we can also have some inputs from your end quickly on this. For example, we are in the section of proposal details. I mean, there are some other details on the top where team and all that, all those details will come, where we have already discussed about how important team is and all. However, we are just coming to the proposal details. So proposal summary is something, I think, Ganga, I'll just briefly mention, based on my experience, what it requires. And I request your inputs on the same as well.
Sure.
So most of the time, this proposal detail is the section where all the technical details you are going to fill. And while you are writing, you may not feel that there is no separate business section, but these questions indirectly ask you to write the summary of what you have done this exercise based
Sure.
on what Ganga explained. So far, for example, when I'm writing in the proposal summary, I'll have to highlight what is the unmet need.
Yeah.
And I can only understand, not based on my perspective that this is the unmet need, but from the customer or client perspective as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you go and talk to them, you will understand and you will be able to highlight here. And then when I say this is the unmet need, then what are the current solution, available in the market?
Sure.
Again,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
When you're going and talking to customers or clients or even other people or other stakeholders, you will come to know about that.
Yeah.
So that is something which you'll have to highlight. And then now what are you're offering there? Very briefly, what is that? How is that opportunity? You can mention, this is the section where, you'll have to write something.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with you, Pranita. So in fact, my last business thesis, that statement which I shared, is a very abridged version of your first point here. So of the brief proposal and summary. In fact, if you have understood your ecosystem, if you know what is your ecosystem, if you know what are the gaps, if you know what are the benefits you are offering, whether it's a pain or gain, and if you are able to describe the customer persona, saying my customer segment is this, and that will actually sum up your proposal summary.
Yeah. And quickly, because since we are just talking about business, preparing a proposal from that angle, I'm not going into technical, couple of technical questions, but this is one of the important question. And Ganga, here I need your inputs as well. So opportunity, most of the time people, you'll have to put your opportunity in terms of how big is your market, addressable market, how you can, that strategy on that. And you will be able to only understand that, there is a primary research which you can do from different open domain sources, right? But ultimately you'll have to go and talk to your clients and customer,
Yeah.
and in this case it needs to be a significant number for you to understand.
So here, valid point. So see, that's why there is this the way we look at it in most of the proposals, like you said, there's a top-down or bottom-up approach of addressing this market opportunity. Top-down is when you have data available or reports available from reliable sources. Suppose you are solving a diabetes problem. So there's enough reports which talks about diabetes, the challenges, not from your technology perspective, like the way the lifestyle, how people are getting affected, what are the challenges, like tier 2, tier 3 cities, people don't have access to basic health centers, or there are tier 1 cities, we have health lifestyle issues. So one top down approach is where you can get access to these reports which are relevant to your business, to the solution, and bring out that and highlight that is a problem, that is at a macro level. But you have to go a little bit on a micro, because we are talking of go to market, we are talking of what is your so there are 3 levels. One is the market opportunity, then there is target market, and there's serviceable market. Why? Because you're a startup, you can only service so much, right, given a startup. So the way you have to answer this is, there is a market opportunity of say pan India, and suppose you're based out of Delhi, you can say north mein itna target hai, in the sense you can cover so much, but you are starting say in Gurgaon, so you will say I will look at Delhi, NCR, and a few others, that is my immediate service market. So if you're able to bring it in that funnel form and justify with data, either from these reports and also second it from your customer discovery conversations. Suppose you're talking of ENT surgeons in that area. If you're looking at Delhi, NCR, etc., you at least talk to 50 odd ENT surgeons and get their feedback on whatever the problem you are trying to solve, and add that in this section. Then it will sum up the whole piece.
Right. And the next question is basically challenges or risk factor associated with the project. Most of the time, people misunderstand this, that this is just a technical question. whether there would be some strategy to make a product or complete a technology related things. However, this is not just technical question. Of course, you'll have to highlight what are the challenges you may face while you are particularly working on this technology or developing this product. But at the same time, you'll also have to highlight the challenges you may face while taking this to the market. And if you know those challenges, what could be your strategy to overcome those challenges? So these are again a business the
Yeah.
perspective from that angle has to.
So the just to add to your point, Pranita, there are two things. Okay, in a business model canvas, if I shared with you the left side of it, which is the critical success factors. Okay, the challenges could be also called as critical success factors. That अगर ये factors नहीं है तो वो challenge बन जाएंगे. Correct. So if the critical success factors में अगर आपका key resources, key activities या key partners, इसमें से 2-3 of them are very important. Say for example, like I told you in the sepsis thing, the cold storage was critical, logistics was critical, right? Or the skill at the diagnostic center in the terrestrial hospital was critical. So if you are able to identify that from a business perspective. The second one is, in macroeconomics, there's a concept called pestle. So every business environment has a political, economical, social and technological challenges. Okay, this is we are in that environment where any change in the political, economic, technology and social change happens, it impacts the business environment, and that is applicable to you. So tomorrow, if there is a new technology which has come, if there is a new policy guideline which changes from the government, all right, or if there is a social factor, maybe the way like COVID, post-COVID, the way we have changed is completely a social factor, right? So there can be some factors which can be on the political, economic, even environmental, technology and social. That also could be potential risks, but that could be very specific to the product or solution you're working. So two things, the left side of your business model canvas and the pestle environment, PESTLE. You can always, and even legal framework. Today, law permits certain things. Law doesn't permit certain things. So if tomorrow the law changes, your business gets impacted. So what are those critical things which are relevant to your product solution or your business growth? I hope I've been able to answer this one.
Yes, Ganga, definitely. And I would like to highlight one example here who's funded under BIG in the food tech area, cultivated meat. There was a challenge which was highlighted by the startup while they were presenting that there is no a clarity on the policies on this area right now in India, and the committee liked the some of the background search or the things which have done about this policies and the framework, legal framework going forward, all that from the founders side. So they appreciated this, and even though it is something which was not previously supported, the committee thought of supporting because they understood that the founders are they are sensitized about all these challenges, and they also have some strategy to overcome that. So these are some of the things you'll have to mention in your application, and you'll have to prepare yourself. Ganga, I think I will not go in any details here on this point point question number 8, future plan of commercialization. You have covered, but if you have any last moment.
Okay, so I think market entry strategy is called go to market. Please look at early adopters. There's a concept called early adopters. So like I told you, not all physiotherapists are your customers. Who are the specific ones? So when you talk of market entry strategy, don't talk of only your product. You think of how you're going to create awareness to them, how they will reach out to you, how you will sell the product to them, how you will service them, how you will retain them, how you will grow them. That is a complete way of looking at it. At least if not retain and grow, how you will enter the market. Because when you decide to enter the market, remember the competitors are also waiting. Because today as a customer, I've been dealing with brand A to solve my problem. But tomorrow your brand is going to come and solve my problem, right? I will tell the brand A, guys, thank you so much. Mera naya product aa raha hai. So the other guy is also going to be eager to find out what is going to happen. So please be very clear on the market entry strategy. For that, you need to understand आज की तारीख में कैसे the existing solutions are sold in the market. Is it through the MR channel? Is it offline? Is it e-commerce? Is it, through the franchisee mode? What is it? Distributor mode? Please understand that and decide whether you want to follow that or you want to look at something different. But whatever you do, please remember there is a cost factor, because finally we are talking of profitability at some stage in life, right? So you have to be very clear on, unless you know what is the arena you're playing in, you will not be able to decide. For that, you need to know your ecosystem, you need to do customer discovery.
Right. Thanks, Ganga. I think with this we have covered most of the business related aspect which Ganga mentioned in her presentation, as well as the where you'll have to summarize this and put it in the application. But there's one of the important point is intellectual property. There were some questions in the chat box on the intellectual property. Now, BIRAC is asking for 5% royalty from the revenues which grantees would be making on the product, right? However, in this case, if somebody would like to do the technology transfer, that is also a good option, and BIRAC is also accepting that option. Now, when you have to do that, or you have to, that is the only way of monetizing what you have developed, then that there has to be some intellectual property. And this is why, while evaluating proposals, sometimes people look into the, team. And sometimes if the team is really from the academia, and if they are not really sure about taking the products on their own to the market, BIRAC is fine with that. However, in that case, technology needs to be transferred. So the technology should be developed and should be, at some stage where it can be taken forward by someone else. And this is why, while evaluating, reviewers are also looking at this as a intellectual property very carefully. What kind of IP you can generate, what kind of entry barriers you can create for others, to enter this market because of your technology, and how this can help you in further commercialization. So IP and business, those are both related things, and that is why it is important that it is carefully evaluated. So any points on those, or any strategies on IP, let's say if you do not have any IP so far, or patent file or trademark or anything, but what are your strategies going forward for this, you can highlight those. I think I'll just stop sharing my screen, because we have almost covered the section, the complete section. There are other details like team and all, which Ganga has already covered how important that is. We request you to pay attention to that and feel relevant details. I think with this we have actually 5:40 around. This is. So thank you so much, Ganga, for joining us and covering all those points, and those are really relevant and important while BIG aspirants are filling their application form.
Any questions? Anybody wants?
I think most of the questions were answered. And there are no hand raised so far, but we request you to write to us if you have any question which Ganga needs to address or something. You can write to us, and we will get it addressed from Ganga for you. Please do write to us if you have any BIG related queries, question. If you want to submit your application this cycle, please again write to us. We can arrange a meeting with expert. Ganga is one of the expert. She is a mentor in residence for SINE. So if there are any application where you seek our help, let us know. Any previous past BIG experiences you would like to share with us and get mentored, please write to us. So with this, I would like to thank everyone, especially Ganga, for taking out time at such a short
My
notice.
pleasure. My pleasure. Anytime for SINE. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
all. Yeah, thank you all for joining and patiently listening. Thank you. I think Ganga, there was, I'm not sure, there was one hand raised, but anyway, so thank you everyone for joining us, and please stay tuned for our next session, and recording of this will be uploaded on the SINE YouTube channel. You can watch the entire section there again.
Thank you. Thanks, Pranita, Priyanka. Bye. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.